Everybody, this is Aubrey from Twisted Trinkets, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make a Celtic 5-strand braided bracelet. Supplies I have here are my bent chain nose pliers, I have my wire cutters here, I have my bail nose pliers, I have some masking tape, I have 5 8mm cat eye beads, and then I have my 20 gauge copper wire. I have a piece of ribbon and a safety pin. And I have enchilada sauce. Why do I have enchilada sauce, you ask? Well, I'm not cool enough to have a bracelet mandrel, so I'm gonna use my enchilada sauce to shape my bracelet at the end. All right, here we go. Moving on. So the first thing that I'm going to do is that I need to determine how long I need to braid for. So that's where my ribbon and my safety pin come in. So what I've done is that I've wrapped my ribbon around my wrist and I've marked where I need to braid to with my safety pin so that I have a length measured that to show how far I need to go, I guess. All right, so using my handy dandy copper wire here, I'm just gonna put these beads in this hole so that they don't roll away. Using my handy dandy copper wire here, I'm gonna cut 5 pieces that are about 16 inches long. And for me, that is from my fingertips to my elbow. I know I have very scientific ways of measuring things, but they work, okay? Okay, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. So now I have my 5 strands of wire. Okay, and I'm going to take them, all right, and I'm gonna line up the ends like this and make sure that they're all laying side by side like so. And then I'm going to put a piece of masking tape around all 5 strands. So give me just a second to do that. Okay, and hopefully my beautiful beads don't roll away. Dooby dooby doo. Okay, so side by side, measure up the ends. Okay, and then I'm going to put my piece of masking tape just probably about like an inch in, just so I have a little bit of play on the end to finish off my bracelet with a clasp when I'm done. All right, it doesn't have to be tight or anything, I'm just OCD about it. Okay, so now I have masking tape on the ends of my 5 wires, right? And they're all laying beautifully side by side, okay? So what I'm gonna do is that I'm going to take 3 strands and bend them this way, and 2 strands and bend them that way. All right, so I have this nice V, okay? So it's just like a regular braid where we're going to take the outermost wire, okay, and we are going to braid it through to the middle, all right? Since we're working with wire and I wanna get a nice, pretty, like looped kind of a feel in my pattern, what I'm gonna do is that while I'm braiding, I'm gonna utilize my thumb as kind of like a circle to braid around. All right, so that as I braid, it's not just straight braiding it into each wire, right? It's taking it around my thumb and kind of looping the braid through as we go. All right, so my outermost wire is gonna be the outside wire on the side with 3, all right? And I'm just gonna pinch right on my V with my thumb, okay? Now, when I do my braid, I'm gonna take my outermost wire and I'm gonna utilize my thumb to curve the wire as I braid it through to the other side, all right? So there we have the first set of the braid. Now we go to the other side because it's the outermost wire of the side with 3, okay? And I'm gonna loop it around my thumb and bring it in, okay? Same thing now again. Take the outermost wire, loop it around my thumb and bring it in, okay? And Like you'll notice that as I go, I'm not laying the wires like right on top of each other. It's more like side by side. Okay, so then I'm going to take my outermost wire on the side with 3, loop it around my thumb, and bring it in. Okay, now I've done 5, right? Have I done 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, there's 5. Okay, now I've done 5. All right, and you can see that I have this like kink. All right, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull that just ever so slightly so that my braid looks banging. All right, so that's my first like pattern set in my bracelet. All right, so now what I want to do is that I'm going to take one of my cat eye beads and I'm going to put it on that center wire that makes that third wire in the bracelet. So I'm going to take my one, okay, just going to stick it on the end here and bring it down. All right, and now I want it in front of the pattern that I just made. Okay, so now for my second set of 5, instead of utilizing my thumb to make sure that like my wires curve, I'm going to utilize the bead, right? So as I come through, I'm actually going to hold the bead with my thumb as I go along, but for purposes of visual, I'm going to try to do this without my thumb. But what you're going to do is you're going to bring the outermost wire around the bead this time, okay, and then do the same thing. Outermost wire from the right around the bead, that's 2, okay, and then the third around the bead, okay, that's 3, and then around the bead, that's 4, and then one more time around the bead, that's 5. So now you've got this nice braided pattern started, right? So now I want my next pattern of 5 to be without a bead. So I'm going to put my thumb back there like that, and I'm going to utilize my thumb to make that wide curve. So there's 1, outermost wire 2, and 3, and 4, okay, and 5. And when I pull my thumb away, it's kind of wide, right? So I just have to pull it a little bit closer together, and it's starting to make this really beautiful braided pattern. Okay, so now for my next 5, I want to do it around a bead. Okay, so I'm going to put my bead on that center wire, maybe if I can find my hole. There we go. Okay, so now I can do it again, utilizing my bead to make that curvature. So the outermost wire on the side with 3, I go 1, outermost wire from the other side, 2, outermost wire from this side makes 3, outermost wire from the right side makes 4, okay, and then the outermost wire from the left side makes 5. All right, so now as I go, I'm starting to get that braid. All right, so now we're going to use our thumb. Okay, so I'm going to pinch it, outermost wire from the right where I have my 3 to do 1, left, 2, right, 3, left, 4, right, 5. Okay, I'm just going to straighten it out, bend it a little to make sure that I have a nice curved pattern in my braid. Okay, now my next 5, I want a bead. So I'm going to set my bead on there. Oh my gosh, this is like the hardest part for me. No coordination, I swear. All right, so then using my bead to set the curve, right? I'm going to take the side that has 3, my outermost wire, and go 1, and then the other side 2, and then the other side 3, and then the other side 4, and the left side 5. All right, and I'm just going to pull it down a little, make sure that I like the way that my braid is starting to look around my beaded pattern here. Okay, so then my next 5 is going to be around my thumb. Okay, so I put my thumb in there, the side with 3, take my outermost wire and curve it 1, outermost wire on the left 2, outermost wire on the right 3, outermost wire on the left, 4, and the right makes 5. Okay, so now I'm gonna go ahead and just pull it so that I like the pattern. Okay, and then on my next one, I want a bead. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and put this on here. Okay, and then using my outermost wire on the side with 3, I utilize the bead for the curvature. All right, and I go 1, okay, right side 2, left side 3, right side 4, left side 5. Okay, and then I can pull it tight so that it's nicely braided around the bead. Make sure that there's good space between the weaves of my braid. All right, and my next 5 is going to be without. So I pinch with my thumb, the side with 3, okay, and I go 1 and 2 from the left, 3 from the right, 4 from the left, 5 from the right. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and just pull it tight so that my braid is starting to come together really nicely. And then this is going to be my last beaded link here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my bead and stick it on that center wire. Dooby dooby doo. Okay, and then utilizing my bead for the curvature from the side that has 3, which is the left, I'm going to do 1 around the bead from the right, that makes 2, from the left, that makes 3, from the right, that makes 4, and from the left, that makes 5. All right, so now I have all 5 of my beads on here, and I'm just going to lay this down and see where I'm at on my length. And it is pretty darn stinking good. It's almost exactly where I need it to be. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and finish this off. If you wanted to at this point, you could do one more link around your thumb to like finish up the pattern, but my length is great, so I'm just going to finish it where it is. All right, so to finish this off, I am going to pull all of my wires together at the end. All right, and that might warp my braid a little bit, but when it does, it'll make a nice little eyelet at the end that's got the bead in there, nice and pretty. Okay, so when I pinch them all at the end, my braid wires are gonna come out side by side once again. Okay, now what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna take my outermost braid wire here, and I'm gonna wrap it 4 times around all of the other wires. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and go like this, and this is gonna make a nice wrapped finishing around those. Okay, so 4, and then I'm gonna use my chain nose pliers to kind of bring those coils together so that they're nice and pretty. Okay, now when I do that, all right, I'm going to go ahead and clip that off on that 4th coil wrap around that base. All right, and that is done. Now I want to make sure to tuck my end in here because I don't want to stab anybody. So that's nice and tucked, and when I run my finger over it, it should not stab me. Okay, now I'm going to do the same thing on the other end where we started. I'm going to take my masking tape off here. Okay. Dooby-dooby-doo. I don't know if you know this, but life is better with sound effects. Okay. Gone. Not off my fingers though. Okay. So I have my masking tape off, right? And I'm just gonna get all the adhesive off with my fingers. Okay, but on this side now, they're already pinched together, and there is an outermost wire that you can see. So I'm gonna just take that outermost wire and do that same thing, wrap it 4 times around all of the other wires. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and then I'm gonna clip that end off there. Okay, and I'm gonna tuck it so that we don't stab anyone. Tuck, tuck, tuck. Okay, run my finger over it. It's good. All right. So now what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to create the clasp feature. All right, so on the short end, I'm going to do my loop. Okay. And then on the long end, I'm going to do a hook, and that will give me my clasp for my bracelet. All right, so to do my loop, the first thing that I'm going to do is kind of pick my strand that I want to loop through, and it's going to be kind of the one that's like on top now that everything is all scrunchied together. So I'm going to bend this wire back for just a second because it's the one that I'm going to make my loop out of. Okay, these other 3 wires we don't need anymore, so we're going to use them to secure that wrapped coil that we did. So I'm just going to push them straight down over my wrapped coil on the underneath side of what I intend to be my bracelet. All right, and I am going to cut them as short as the coil is so that they are nice and tiny. Okay, then using my bent chain nose pliers here, I'm going to bend them and smush them so that they are flush against my coil. And now sometimes you might have to bend and smush the very, very tips of them because we don't want to stab anybody, right? So we're tucking those in as well. Okay. So now I'm going to take my bail nose pliers here. All right. And I'm going to utilize the largest bail piece of these pliers to make a nice clasp. All right, I'm going to give myself just a hair bit of space between the end of my bracelet and this loop, and I'm just going to pull it around. All right, and I'm just going to do a wrapped loop around that base. All right, now I didn't leave myself a lot of wire to work with here, but it should be enough that I can do at least 2 loops to secure that wrapped loop to make my clasp. All right, so I warped it, so I'm going to go ahead and put my bail nose pliers back in and recircularize it. That's a word, by the way, recircularize. Okay. All right, and now it is nice and round once again, and I have my wrap loop, and it's all tucked so that, oh wow. Okay, so I have my wrap loop, and it's all tucked so that nobody's gonna get stabbed. Okay, and that's one end of my bracelet. Okay, so now we go to the other side where we have the longer pieces. Okay, now I am gonna do the same thing on this side, but I have one strand that's a little bit longer than the others, and it's the one on top. So I'm just going to go ahead and bend that back really quick. The other 3 we no longer need. So on the underneath side of my bracelet, I'm going to go ahead and bend those down so that they're flush against that coil that we did at the end. All right, and I'm just going to clip all 3 of those off right there. Okay. And I'm going to utilize my bent chain nose pliers to smoosh them down. Make them nice and tight, tuck the ends so that we aren't stabbing anybody. Okay. Alrighty. So there's that end. So now I'm going to make my hook for my bracelet. All right, so I'm going to use my bail nose pliers again. Okay, and utilizing that same largest circular piece on the bail nose pliers, okay, I'm going to put that part that I want to wrap around on the inside of my wire, and I'm just going to bend it out just a little, and then I'm going to pull it up and over the top of my bail nose pliers here. Okay. So what that's going to do is give me this nice hook looking, boop, focus, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, it's a hook. You can kind of see it. There we go. There we go. All right. So now I just need to finish it. Okay. So I'm just going to cut about even with the bottom of my coil that I did to finish off my bracelet. All right. And then using my bale nose pliers once more, what I'm going to do is that I'm just going to do a nice little loop in the end. Okay, a nice little loop in the end. And just make it up and flush with the wire above it. Okay, now if you need to, you can use your bent chain nose pliers here to just make sure that it's tucked nice, sitting flat against everything and all that. All right, so now our final beautiful step is to use our wonderful enchilada sauce and curve our bracelet. All right, so I have my bracelet here. Refocus, perfect. Okay, and I'm just gonna use my enchilada sauce to go ahead and wrap it around and clasp it. Okay, and so I mean I picked a pretty good can for this because it's exactly the right size, but then I'm just gonna squish it a little bit so that it holds its shape as a bracelet. Okay, and then once I take it off, there we have it. Beautiful, nice Celtic 5-strand braid bracelet. And then for me, like, I can take it on and off pretty easily like a bangle, or for people who have larger wrists at this point, they can undo it, put their hand in, and then easily clasp it up. Okay. For this piece, to finish it also, I'm going to run it through my rock tumbler just to work harden it, and I'm going to do that for about an hour. Okay, and that's it, really. That's it, folks.